Big T Tech Corner.
Hey everybody, Big T here. Today we're going to be building a really high-end AGP system. This isn't actually the highest end you can get, but it's up there, and I'm really excited to start building this. So let's get right into it. So as you can see, we have a lot of components laid out on the table here. Unfortunately, I didn't include the processor in the picture, but we will cover that. And the RAM you see there is not the RAM that is going to be in this computer. It's only temporary. So let's dive into all the details, starting with the green Bitfenix fans. Here we have two 120mm Bitfenix fans. They're very quiet. They're from around the time period that this board was made, and they have green LEDs, which is the theme that we're going with despite what you'll see later on. So we don't want to use onboard audio because of cracks, pops, and bandwidth related issues, so I chose this random CT4830 I had lying around. There's a special driver pack out there that has very good support for these Sound Blaster Live 5.1 cards, especially under Windows XP 64-bit. So this is the sound card I went with. The CPU cooler that we went with is just some random Asus CPU cooler for LG A775 that I had lying around. Came off of an Asus motherboard, and it does the job really well. It's pretty quiet, it looks good, and it has some copper pipes as well as a nice big copper plate where the CPU is, so this is definitely something we want to use. So our primary boot drive will be a 250GB WD Caviar SE from very early 2007. I honestly chose this because one, it was lying around, and two, it was very period correct for the system, so yeah, I went ahead and installed Windows XP 64-bit on this drive, and it's pretty speedy. Our data drive will be a WD Green 1TB from 2009. I chose this drive because it had a bunch of games on it already, and it was my only other SATA drive. I wanted to make sure we were using SATA for both the system drive and the data drive. So yeah, it was just kind of there and ready to go. Since my kit of 2GB DDR2 533 did not make it in time for this video, I decided to temporarily go with 1GB and 512 meg of DDR400. Since we only have two SATA ports, the optical drive will be parallel ATA, and conveniently it's a DDRII as well. Power supply is also temporary. It is an Antec Earthwatts EA500D, and it received lots of praise when it was brand new. However, this one is a bit old, so I'm sure it's not as efficient as it used to be. The CPU is a Core 2 Duo E6600 at 2.4 GHz with 4 MB of level 2 cache. This is the second fastest processor that this motherboard officially supports. I want to see if we can get an X6800 to work on here, but I'm not going to count on it. Either way, this is a really good processor. The case is a beautiful Antec 300. This is hands down my favorite case of all time. My main system actually runs in one of these cases. Unfortunately, the one here is a little worse for wear. Somebody decided to do a really crappy rattle can red paint job on the inside for some reason. I don't know why, because you never see it. So nonetheless, we won't be using red fans because I don't have any. We're going to use the green theme with the green fans, and yeah, I just love this case. It's so nice, and the airflow is really good. Lastly, the eluded motherboard. It's an ECS P4M 800 Pro-M version 2. What makes this processor really special is not only can it support DDR2 and DDR1, but it has a 1066 MHz frontside bus, meaning it can support a lot of the Core 2 processors. Not all of them, such as the quads or anything above the Conroe, but it still supports a fair amount of Core 2 duos, which are way better than the previous LG A775 Pentium 4s and Pentium Ds, as we will soon find out. But this was a rather cheap motherboard. It was still expensive, but as far as higher end AGP motherboards go, it was not too expensive. It was bought locally, and I'm quite happy with it. Despite being an ECS product, I would probably rather use this over an ASRock board, even though I really want an ASRock board, just for the sole fact that this thing is probably more stable and more reliable than the ASRock board, if you can believe it. Okay, so with the specs out of the way, let's start putting this computer together and testing it. After configuring settings in the BIOS, installing device drivers, we can now take out the Radeon 9200, which was used for diagnostics, and put in an HD 3850 to see what this computer can really do. Catalyst 8.4 is installed and we are ready to roll. I'm going to test two games which struggled on my previous AGP benchmarking system: Need for Speed Most Wanted and Call of Duty World at War. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed putting this computer together. With that being said, you can expect more Battle of the Retro Graphics Card episodes to happen in the near future, as well as some videos talking about special AGP graphics cards. Thank you, and see you next time.